In a world full of movie podcasts, here is one more. Welcome to Defend Your Movie with Sean Donnelly
and Andrew Fiore.
The time has come again. A champion must stand. It can only be one of us. Victoria! So stand up and fight, my friend. There's a title you must defend. Shut it on, bring it to me. Defend your movie.
Hello there, everybody, and welcome to another edition of your favorite podcast, my favorite podcast, I think Governor Cuomo's favorite podcast, Defend Your Movie. I am one of your hosts, Sean Donnelly, and I am joined here with the ever so amazingly just conceptual and just completely, just
Wow.
what a cute man. What an absolute adorable man. Andrew Fiore.
Ah, thank you, Shawnee. Boy, I'm going to have to step up my introduction descriptions. That was lovely. That made
It's
my
hard
day.
to think. I
Thank
said.
you so much.
I don't know if it made sense because I said conceptual. I don't think that made any sense.
Well, in the Zoom world, it kind of does, I guess.
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely.
Get a
Andrew.
bigger picture of my home life.
Yeah. Absolutely. How are you, buddy? How's everything going?
I'm doing well. Thank you very much. It's another week in quarantine. It seems like things are loosening up a little bit, and some things are maybe getting back to normal. But we are here for you, as always, with
Yes.
another round of Defend Your Movie. That is the constant and the normal you can count on, peeps.
That's absolutely true. And Defenders, we appreciate you so much for listening and subscribing and reviewing. And that's a huge
Yes.
huge part of it. Please,
We hope
please,
you're all
please
doing
remember
well as well.
remember to subscribe and review and let us know like what you're watching during the quarantine. You're like
For sure.
You have matchups and like as a friend of ours, I don't know if you know Jeremiah Murphy is a comic that's on Facebook. Well,
Sure.
I'm friends with him on Facebook. He's a comic that's all over the place. But and he's been doing these great. Some of them are ridiculous matchups, but he's just been putting two movie posters next to each other on Facebook. And I can't help myself but comment on his matchups.
Yeah.
We're not even like close buddies, but I'm like, come on, man, you got to be kidding me. Like he put Midnight Run versus I think he might have put it versus 48 Hours, and I was like, no, not even a contest.
All right.
So we've all been in our quarantine mode, and you're right, it's loosening up a little bit, and you're wondering, what do I get to do now that it's loosening up? And in New York City, that isn't much. I think if we all lived somewhere else, we'd be able to do more. But even the gatherings wise, there's a new thing on the comedy front. These drive-in shows, which I knew would happen.
Yeah, it couldn't hold us down. We're like cockroaches into the surface.
So I guess they're just having comedy shows straight up, or are they having comedy shows before the movie at the drive-in?
Well, the one that I was asked to do was outside a diner, the Bel Air Diner, which had been doing drive-in stuff. And now they're doing the same sort of setup where you drive and you park and the comics get up on the back of a flatbed of a pickup. So I don't know how that's going. I saw some clips of the first one with some of our friends, Joe List and John Fish, and it didn't look great.
Yeah, I kind of wonder if I was asked to do one, if I would just do it for the sake of seeing if I could do it.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
It's just, rehab, getting back to the gym after 4 months off, It's going to be brutal. And it's not an ideal setup either, so it's like...
That's an understatement. Jesus, on the back of a pickup truck in front of a bunch of cars? Not ideal is being nice to it. Are you kidding me? That is a horrible setup, and I would hope... It's probably one of our friends that runs it, right? Who is it that runs the show?
Yeah, Jay Nog.
Yeah, Jay knows how awful it is. I saw the clip of it. He's talking about how awful it is, but he put it together. It's like, come on, man. Whatever. So we all know it. So I don't think it's news to anybody that performing to a bunch of cars. It feels like you're a stand-up comic if the world got taken over by Transformers, probably.
Yeah, exactly. But hopefully it'll feel like old times again, despite everything else is going on. And, I'm starting to see more people. I've loosened up the regulations myself a little bit. And
well, let's be honest. You weren't that tight to begin with, but okay.
I was doing pretty good. I was staying at home.
I was. You were by yourself. That's what's hard about it.
Yeah, exactly. So no, I've gone over to people's houses now, and we've stayed at a safe distance. But you have to see people and get out there. We're social creatures, you know, and especially me. I can't do it anymore, man.
You need human contact.
Absolutely. But that being said, I have been at home alone watching some movies like we do.
Yes. And what did you watch this week?
So I was digging into the archives, Shawnee, and this one that I watched was on Amazon Prime, a film from 1998 that I never saw before. It's called Twilight. Have you ever seen that one with Paul Newman, Susan Sarandon, and Gene Hackman, and a small role by James Garner?
Twilight, no.
I had never heard of it either. Kind of came up on my Amazon Prime search. Paul Newman basically plays a retired policeman, private investigator, who helped out Gene Hackman and Susan Sarandon. They're a married couple, and they're actors, and Gene Hackman is now sick, and he's basically Paul Newman living in their pool house because he's down on his luck. He's an alcoholic. That old, detective trope.
Right.
And he basically rescues their daughter, a very young Reese Witherspoon.
Oh, wow.
Added bonus, quite topless in this movie.
Really?
Yeah. I had no idea Reese went topless in any of her films. And
I didn't know that either. I guess.
Boy, it was a real treat for the old quarantine kid over here.
Talk about needing some contact.
Oh, it was fantastic, baby. And
Wow.
young Liev Schreiber too, or however the hell you say his name.
Liev Schreiber, yeah.
So yeah, the plot of the movie is then basically he is trying to now solve a murder and a crime all tied up to the whole family and everything else. And you've got another late appearance by M. Emmett Walsh. Really strong cast. It was okay. It's probably a reason you don't know about this movie more because it wasn't the strongest.
Yeah.
But it works based on the strength of the cast alone.
The cast is so good. That's such a good cast. Jesus.
So if you're looking for something in the quarantine to watch and you want to see the Reese's Pieces, give it a look.
It's a pretty good dad joke. Hey, you want to see Reese's Pieces? Yeah.
So, and then the second one I watched last night. I don't know how this one got by me either. I feel like you might have seen it from 2017. Kill the Irishman.
Oh, I never watched it.
It's great.
I'm very careful with like the Irish themed movies like that. Where like ever since Boondock Saints, I get very weary because I hate Boondock Saints, and a lot of people love it.
Well, let me clear the air for you. It really is based on a true story of the Cleveland Mafia, and the Irishman is just kind of the nickname for Danny Green, who was a real life guy who kind of did his own criminal enterprises aside from the Mafia. At the time, they kind of let everybody do their own thing as long as business was good. And then, of course, there's all sorts of conflicts. And it's based on a true story, Cleveland Mafia in the early to mid to late 70s. And it was great. I loved it. It was a good Mafia movie. A lot of good actors in it. Val Kilmer, Christopher Walken, a lot of the Italian actors you see in every Mafia movie ever.
Yeah.
But really fun, really good Mafia movie. And I enjoyed it. Yeah, nothing like Boondock Saints-y at all. And not like Irishy at all. It's just kind of like, oh, Danny, that's the Irishman. It's more of a nickname.
Oh, okay. That makes sense then.
So highly recommended.
Well, I'll tell you, I realized I watched three things, but one of them I'm going to bring up because it's something that you watched.
Oh, all right, sir.
And I want to tell you my opinion of it. Den of Thieves.
Oh, I liked it. I liked it a lot.
I know you liked it a lot. I liked it way better than I thought I was going to.
Me too.
I thought, what's his name? I'll tell you, I couldn't place the lead, but the lead meaning Pablo Schreiber.
Pablo Schreiber, yep.
But because he looks so different. He's like Diesel in this. He's a little bit older. He's actually my age. We're the same age.
Uh-huh.
And the guy looks fantastic. But he's like jacked. And they must have gotten them all jacked for this movie. And And he's kind of more understated than normally is, and he plays it way differently than his character. And like he does a lot of comedy stuff, not comedy, but like in The Wire, he plays kind of this schmucky white boy from the docks kind of thing, right? In the second season of The Wire.
Yeah, he plays Nick.
He plays Nick. Yeah, and Orange is the New Black. He plays this cornball blowhard CO guard in the jail. Like, and he's kind of he's also super aggressive, but that's the whole point of him, you know.
And the half brother to Liev Schreiber.
Yes, he is. That's why I thought of it.
Yeah.
But anyway, I liked it. It's too long. That's
a
one
little
thing.
long.
The turn. There's a turn in it. That we won't
I was
give
going to
away
say, what did you think about
see
the
it.
twists?
I liked it. I kind of. The whole. I didn't put it together, but you almost don't put it together because you don't think it's that type of movie.
Yeah.
It kind of switches genres on. You don't realize that it's old switcheroo. You know, whatever it is.
Yeah.
So I did like it overall. I thought Pablo Schreiber was really good in it. It actually was like he's. Like, because he played kind of a good badass, like ex-military badass.
Yeah,
like,
he was great.
You know,
and you don't mind Curtis 50 Cent Jackson either. He's just kind of, you know.
No, it's
you don't
perfect
think
there.
about it.
No, not at all. No, he's good.
decent.
Like he's good in it. Like it's that kind of movie. It's like a good action movie. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's an action heist movie with a con movie as well. It's got three like kind of sub genres all wrapped into one, which is why I enjoyed it. And then it's got some twists and turns, so it kept you on your toes and it kept you thinking. And then at the end you go, oh, all right, pretty cool. I like it.
Yeah, it's worth checking out. Check out Den of Thieves. It could be shorter, so if now in quarantine it's perfect because you have a lot of time in your hands. It doesn't matter. But normally I'd say this should be like an hour and 45-minute movie, like an hour and 40-minute movie.
Yeah.
Like it should have been. Like they could have made it really great if it was shorter. That's the only complaint that I have.
Yeah, the only thing I didn't love the rogue kind of cops. It's like, oh, the LA cops are such badasses. But
I think they were trying to tongue in cheek it. Like they kind of make mention of it.
Yeah,
where he's like, and also I don't know if I liked Gerard Butler. I don't know if I like him in general.
I agree, kind of.
I think he's like thought of as better than he is. Like he's kind of.
Do you ever see Law Abiding Citizen?
Yes, yeah. I don't know if I like him in that.
He's one of those guys I can't make up my mind on.
Law Abiding Citizen is a movie with a twist. You want to. That's how I feel. You want to like him, but I don't like him. Like because he's supposed to be this big badass. Because he's in 300. He's supposed to be like an action guy. Yeah, and he is. But no performance of his. Like I'm not a 300 fan, so no performance of his. For a lot of people, I think what happens is this: you need the movie for these action guys that makes you go, "Well, you're this guy every time I see you now." And for me, 300
the Jason Statham,
right? Exactly. And for that, a lot of people like still think of him from Snatch, and how he's badass in Snatch.
Great.
So. You need that like thing that sets your relationship with the action star for you to be like, oh, this is just the guy and he's awesome, whatever it is. And Gerard Butler never really had that from me. Like I don't like 300 as a movie, so whatever. But I also watched Birds of Prey, the Harley Quinn. Dude, I hated it. Did you see it?
It's not great.
It's not great, man. Like first off, if you're making those decisions, how are you not? It's not just a Harley Quinn movie. Why are you?
And it would have been really good if it was just concentrated on her, because Margot Robbie played a great Harley Quinn and looks the role, acts the part, but they tried to make it too feministy and girl power, and they have to have everybody in it, and you just go, all right, I get it.
Well, not even that. It was not even like that it has to be feministy and girl power, which it was. Not even that, and also some of the storytelling techniques were awful. The jumping around was too much. But besides, I wouldn't mind it if it was about the Birds of Prey and they were dynamic and each one of them, but you're watching this and Margot Robbie is so good. You don't care about, Canary, what's her name? Black Canary, whatever her name is.
Yeah.
Or, and you don't care, Rosie Perez's character. I'm sorry. I don't care about your storyline. I don't care about any of that. Whatever it is. So, if they made them more comic booky and dynamic and they were really oh my god, look how amazing they are, they would match up to the level of the Harley Quinn character. I would have been maybe more into it. But novice people, non-comic book people, which I consider myself, because I didn't sit and read a bunch of comics when I was a kid, but I always liked them, but and I liked the art, but I would never sit and be in the world, but Harley Quinn is such a standout. How are you not just going guys, we can't tell anybody this, but we're just going to make a Harley Quinn Deadpool and just steal the beats, steal the
Totally.
tone,
Great
and then
idea.
write our own script, obviously, and our own plot. But you could have it. Absolutely, it could have been a Harley Quinn. Like they even kind of have hints of what her origin story is. Could have been that. Could have been another.
That would have been great. I would have loved to watch that.
Yeah, and make it a more localized story. So it's just about her. Like she's an anti-hero, so she's not siding with the cops, but she's trying to help this girl. The Asian teenager lives in her building. Something's happening. Ewan McGregor is the bad guy in this movie.
Right.
He threatens to do something. She helps the teenager. This way, she still keeps her reputation as a bad guy. Like she, you know what I'm saying? Like, and you have a very local story of her just thwarting Black Mask, whatever his name is. Ewan McGregor.
Yeah.
I just have so many. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to ask if they did, because I honestly don't remember. I watched it on a flight. Did they give more of her origin story in Suicide Squad?
They must have. I just never saw it.
Because I just don't remember. But yeah, I agree with everything you said. It was like I watched it as a quarantine watch, and I like those movies. But yeah, it could have been such a better film because you had the ingredients, but you didn't cook the meal, baby.
Absolutely, dude. It was really good. I'm watching it going, What are you doing? What's going on here? Why
right.
Like it starts off with the thing. She's like, we broke up, and it's like, oh, you and Joker broke up, so you're going to go on a mad
fucking tear,
and that doesn't happen. It's so bad, man. And also the beginning makes it seem about her, stuff like that, you know.
Yeah.
So that's one of them, and then the last one I'll say real quick is I watched the last Matrix movie.
Oh, I don't believe I've seen it.
Really?
I was never a huge Matrix guy, so I think I gave up
love the
on
Matrix. But if you didn't give up sooner, you'd give up on the last. The last one's so convoluted. Okay. It's not that fun. It's not whatever. They're doing a fourth one, a fourth and a fifth one or something. Or
the girls.
What? The girls.
The girls.
Yeah, the Wachowski sisters. Yeah.
It's so crazy to me how it's like, yeah, we started this trilogy or whatever as men, and we ended it as women. That's a movie first, I think.
I think it is. I think that shows you how stressful making movies is.
Yeah, absolutely.
You don't want to be a guy anymore.
I bet that. I mean, with everything that is available now, CGI and all the technology, though, I'm sure they're going to do amazing things with the fourth one because you forget that first one was 98, 99.
I know.
So not what technology was.
But you hope that them having too much resources doesn't ruin it, where it makes it look cartoony.
Yeah.
But I think you're right. I think they're going to do the right thing because they were ahead of their time. Like those movies still, the effects still hold up. Like they watch, and those movies are from 20 years ago, more than 20 year ago. And I watched those movies, or I guess those weren't. 2003 was probably the last one. But it's so long ago that you're still like, oh, I don't see, you're right in it. You're not being taken out of it with crappy effects, you know?
The John Wick universe has scratched my Keanu itch for me, you know? I like those better than The Matrix.
Well, that's funny you say that because it wasn't the stunt coordinator, the guy who directed, or the assistant director on Matrix.
Oh, maybe. I don't know.
Is who did John Wick. It's somebody who works on The Matrix. That's why he did it. He did it for like scale, and he like, I think he like gave, even on The Matrix, I think he gave the last salary for the last movie to like the crew and their families.
Oh wow,
that's
great.
He's just a good dude, I think.
I like it. I like it a lot.
And so I think he kind of did the first John Wick as almost like a favor. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, Shawnee, before we get to the meats and the peats, we got one sad note that I forgot to mention to you beforehand. R.I.P. Richard Hud. You might know him as Mr. Wilhelm.
Oh,
George's old boss at the Yankees.
Oh, man, he died?
Yeah, Richard Hud passed away. Great side character. He never really gets talked about too much, but he just went in there. He was like a baseball player. He got his at-bats. When they counted, he swung and he hit for the fences, and he was a great side character.
Wilhelm? Who is Wilhelm? They call me Tanya.
Yeah. Which apparently I had to look that one. That's like a direct reference to Patty Hearst and the PLO.
Yeah. Oh, it makes sense. Yeah,
I think her name was Tanya. Her code name was Tanya in the People's Liberation.
I think I might have known that, but like separately from Seinfeld, obviously.
Most of the world is carpeted. Carpet and cleaning. But You're looking at the new head scout of the New York Mets. He had some great ones. He had some good collaborations with George.
He's
all
a standout,
downtown.
man. Like once you have that Seinfeld royalty, if I see anything else, I pick you right out.
Come on, George. I told the big man you were moving on this.
You've got to go downtown. It's all downtown. Well, that's rest in peace, Mr.
Richard
Wilhelm.
Hud. Yeah. He looked exactly like Carl Malden. But
he did. He looked just like Carl Malden. Yeah,
I'm sure he got that his whole life. But
oh, sure, that's probably
always sad to see somebody from our favorite go down. We've been losing too many lately.
It sucks, man.
But that's another thing. I didn't know especially me over here in Astoria. I walked by the Costanza's house last week. It's 5 minutes from my house. I knew it was in Queens.
Wait, are you sure it's the actual one?
Yeah, because I looked it up. And
okay.
Yeah, obviously it's just the establishing shot, obviously. But
right.
When Jerry Stiller passed away, somebody took a photo and put it on Instagram. It was like right near my neighborhood in Astoria. And I always knew it was in Queens, but I didn't know it was in Astoria. So I went and actually looked it up. And then I was walking around with our friend Greg, and we found ourselves right on 37th Street. And I go, hey, I think the Costanza's right around. It's so close. And once you see it, you go, oh, boy, that is it. It has not changed, dude.
Did you take a picture in front of it?
I took a picture from across the street because there was a lady sitting in the front yard, and I didn't want to bother her because I'm sure she gets it a couple times a day.
Yeah,
so I kind of took a clandestine photo, but I put it on my stories. But, man, it looks exactly the same. It gives you that warm feeling inside. You just go, it's the Costanzas.
Oh, that's awesome.
I'll give the screen.
I got to check it out. What's that, 37th Street?
Yeah, it's on like, we'll go over there one day. I can't remember the cross street, but it's right here in Astoria, Queens. So R.I.P. to all the senior members of the Seinfeld crew we've lost recently.
To be honest, they've lasted. They were old in Seinfeld. They've lasted pretty long.
So
anyway, get down to the meats and the Pete's.
Let's get to the meats and the Pete's. Got a bridge and tunnel standoff here today.
Oh yeah, we sure do. And I got to be honest, I don't think it's a battle for what's the better.
It's not. It's a clear-cut dominating victory, but it's just mostly trying to come up with ideas. I said, how about we do something from our home states? And our home states are neighbors. We maybe should have brought somebody from Indiana in here or something, but we figured we'd just talk about the great movies of our home states of New York and New Jersey. Sean being from Long Island, I'm from North Jersey myself, and a lot of movies have been made in this area.
Absolutely, and
a lot of great movies.
New York has the advantage of being New York, but that's why I'm more interested in what your picks were. I jotted down about 5 that I think would be the top, not even top, interesting New York movies that you might not have thought of.
Okay, cool. Yeah, because we all know the big ones, obviously.
Well, the big one, a couple of them are the big ones. So, yeah, but so I think we can get it out of the way if we talk about, well, one of the big ones is one of your favorites, which is Annie Hall.
Yeah, Annie Hall and Manhattan.
And Manhattan. So they're, exactly. You can't have a movie called Manhattan, really, without, I guess you have the Manhattan Project.
Manhattan, Tennessee.
Manhattan, Kansas. And the other one I was thinking was Goodfellas. Goodfellas is all over.
Sure.
That is New York. That's in Long Island. That's in
Queens,
Brooklyn,
JFK, Idlewild.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So those are the biggies, and I think the great thing about those movies is, and it's going to sound corny, but they're time capsules. So not only do they get to show you New York, they get to show you New York during the best time of New York, the way everybody thinks about New York.
Right.
Because I'm making a lot of enemies saying this, but New York, for me, I'm from not too far from the city. It's not cool anymore to me. I don't think it's cool.
I see.
I think back in the day, back in the times when these movies were made, it had this edge to it. It had this there were a lot of cool scenes.
Yeah.
It was up and coming. It was an art capital of the world. Now it's just kind of like a nest for millionaires. It's not. Yeah, exactly. So I think that's why watching these movies, it's very nostalgic, and it makes you think like, oh, what a cool city. I
agree 100%. We've talked about this numerous times. I love movies from the 70s, especially. It's that thing. I've lived here since the early 2000s, but you romanticize any era that you didn't grow up in, especially the 70s and the 80s in New York City. It had that danger to it. It was going bankrupt at one point. There was riots. The Bronx is burning. But you also have the Yankees are winning championships. But, you got Ed Koch and all. It was just crazy times. Like you said, It was still a city of the people, not necessarily a city of banks and corporations and, what unfortunately it's turned into today. But you have such great things like Dog Day Afternoon. You've got Serpico, all those Lumet movies that are great. It was just a really great time for the city and for movie making in the city.
And the way it is for me is that I really wanted to be a movie director, and I tried to go to film school and try to take film classes, and I wasn't into. I don't know why I opted out of it. Maybe because I thought from doing it I would enjoy movies less. I don't know. I could have tried to do it, but it was But one of the things back then was like how many cool things were filmed there in New York. Like if you were a film director and then it was the 70s, filming here was like actually original and unique.
Yeah.
If I was making a movie now, I'd want to set it anywhere else besides New York. I'd want to set it in somewhere where you don't a cool city that you don't know much about, the up and coming city that you know much about, like where people because then it acts as a character for the movie, because that's one of the reasons that I loved. One of the things, and it's not a movie, it's a TV show, Flight of the Conchords. Okay. Good show. I think they're funny.
Yeah.
But Flight of the Conchords, one of the best things about that show is that they filmed in the most unique New York locations. There was like these random parking lots in Queens, and it was all stuff that's never been on film before.
Right.
But it was still a New York show. Like they were in New York, they were filming in New York.
Yeah.
But they were doing it on Little Neck Parkway, whatever it would be, like something where like nobody was going to. That's what should be happening if you're going to film in New York. Like
I agree.
Every other area has been done to death, whatever it is.
It's been done to death, but I still say when someone gets it right, it still can make for a great backdrop and a great movie. Because the city becomes a character on its own without being written into the script. Do you know what I mean? It still holds. How
many times have you seen that character in the movies? You know what I mean? Like, how many times are you going to see the Arch at Washington Square Park? How many times are you going to see the Chrysler Building? How many times are you going to see somebody coming down a Midtown Street? How many times are you going to see a hot dog cart be used for an action in a movie? Like, it gets to a point where it's like, not that I'm saying nobody should do it. I'm just saying you have to think of new inventive ways of showing the city if you're going to do it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because there's so many times where it's like, that New York moment, that's becoming so cliche. And yes, it's been cliche for a long time. Even when in the 80s and 90s when these movies were being made. I get it. Like you have tons of movies were made in New York. And there's a reason for it. It still is the greatest city in the world. It's the greatest city in the world.
Absolutely.
Ground zero for Corona. But
I think DC took us over, actually, in terms of numbers, but that's for
Oh, did they? Oh, okay. That's for our Corona podcast that we did right after this. But my point being, don't get me wrong, I still love it, but it's like one of those things where I think really to be a New Yorker, you have a love-hate relationship with the city, and I've gotten to the point with that, where I'm going, I'm so sick of seeing it in movies. But I think people are. What about a movie like
25th Hour that kind of uses it as that backdrop of we're doing things, it's one night. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yeah, but it's just more of a setting in that movie than right. It's
that's what I mean. When you use it like that, it's understated and it's still,
it's still good. Yeah, don't get me wrong. I'd be more with that than I would be with what like making it like this is a New York movie. Like it just becomes corny after a while. But like but yeah, if you're having it set here and they also had a lot of indoor locations in 25th Hour and.
That's true.
It was filmed. I think it was filmed here because it was Spike Lee. But you're right. Like, I think he knew not to make it like, it's gotta be New York. But it feels New York enough.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because as we're even talking, I'm thinking of a million movies. I just watched the end of.
There's a million.
When Harry Met Sally, which is very New York, and there's so
many. French Connection.
French Connection.
There's a new documentary on William Friedkin that I really want to watch. I can't remember, but it's something Friedkin, and apparently it's just a documentary based on his style and his way he makes movies and just groundbreaking stuff. So if you have watched that, please let me know if it's any good because I want to check it out.
Well, I'll tell you, I thought of one. It's not even on my list, but I want to mention it because it's one that kind of speaks to what I'm saying. Like, it's in the early 90s. It kind of shows, like, a lot of movies glorified, like, even Seinfeld kind of did it. Like, they didn't make it, they romanticized New York. A lot of films romanticize New York. Quick Change with Bill Murray.
What a fucking great one.
Shows you how shitty New York can be.
Yeah.
And the whole time they're just trying to get out of New York. It's pretty great.
What an underrated gem of a movie.
Oh my God. It's fantastic.
Is that Bill Murray's is he a director of that? I think he might have been involved in that.
Did he direct it? I didn't even know that. I'm surprised I didn't know that.
But, or maybe I could be completely wrong on that. But I love Quick Change. It's Randy Quaid, Bill Murray, and Gina Davis. It's so good. It's such an underrated comedy. Yeah, it was Howard Franklin and Bill Murray directed by it. I knew it was director.
Okay.
It's got one of the funniest things I've ever seen in my entire life. It's such a great line delivered by Randy Quaid when they pull into they're lost in Queens and the car comes to a halt and they just look and there's a group of Mexican people all standing around this church. A little boy rings a church bell and you see two Mexican guys on bicycles bless themselves. And then it's with gardening hose. It's a Mexican bicycle joust.
They have like sticks. They have like stickball sticks, don't they?
One guy's got a hoe and the other guy's got like a rake.
Oh, okay.
And the one guy goes down, and it just cuts back to Bill Murray and Randy Quaid. Randy Quaid, as he's putting the car in reverse, he goes, "Bad luck just seeing a thing like that." It's such an underrated movie, man. I'm surprised that's not on more people's lists, but it is great.
It's great, and it's a very New York movie. It's very New York.
Very New York movie. It's a landmark.
It's just them trying to get to the airport. You know, that might be the most New York movie there is. You could make an argument that's the most New York movie there is. That's mostly, a lot of the time, you have a million New Yorkers just trying to get to the airport.
Yeah, if you didn't live here, or even if you had anything kind of, like for me, if I had come into the city without GPS when I was a kid, you don't understand how easy it is to get lost in the city.
Oh my God, yes.
And that's why it was so great. Now it's obviously not a question, but still.
I want to say one thing before we move on. I'm not driving to the airport. Seinfeld reference. All right, but let's go with one of your picks. I named like 3 New York ones already.
All right, well, I'll give you kind of a trilogy here. Very famous from being from New Jersey as a director. Is Kevin Smith, and it's Mallrats, Clerks, Chasing Amy.
Yes, and
that I said them in my favorite order. I like Mallrats the best, then Clerks. I don't love Chasing Amy because it doesn't really hold up.
It does not hold up at all. It's very 90s and it's not great.
But I love Mallrats as a comedy, and I give props to Clerks because it was original. It was super original at the time. And I was in love with it when I was in like 8th grade and in 93 and 94. I loved it. I loved the language in it. I loved that it was Jersey. They played street hockey. And just the quick change, not the quick change, the Quickie Mart, like the Wawa Quick Check style stores are such a fabric of New Jersey thing. I just loved them when I was growing up.
Yeah. So that's the thing. That's what I wanted to ask you because, from trying to figure out your list, what makes a Jersey movie a Jersey movie?
Ooh, that's a good question. I think a Jersey movie is more steeped in local references because you don't have the identifiable backdrop that you do with New York City.
Right.
So you have to have things written in like malls and convenience stores like that. Yeah. And local references where they actually go, yeah, he's from South Orange. You know what I mean? It's like they're actually naming things. But, he's going to eat pork roll, egg and cheese, Taylor ham. So Kevin Smith was always really good at that. He was always really good at weaving and stitching either T-shirts with high schools on them or local references. Kevin Smith was very good about that. He was famously, Red Bank was where Jay and Silent Bob's secret stash is, and he actually
I've driven by there.
The comic book store there.
I wonder if it's still there. You think it's still there?
I think it actually still a thing because they did that TV show a couple years ago from there.
Yeah. But yeah, I think you're right. I think it has to be like town names. The hockey is kind of part of it. I think hockey's a big thing where you're from. The way I feel it when it comes to Jersey is you have to have those local references because...
Yeah, the shore, the boardwalk, all that good stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And I have a couple on my list that I don't think people would think of. Well, one of them, which I've only seen once, so I don't remember too much, but I remember it being a decent movie. But you want to talk about a New York movie, 200 Cigarettes. Have you ever seen that movie?
I have not. It was always something when I was like a independent film student nerd.
Yeah,
I'd go,
it's that kind of movie.
Jim Jarmusch, right?
No, I don't think it is Jim Jarmusch. Let me see.
Who's actually from New Jersey? Is that? Oh yeah, maybe you're right. Is that a collaboration?
Yes, it's got a huge ensemble cast.
Right. But no, I never seen that. It's always been on my list, and then I never got around to watching it.
Here, I'll tell you, ready for this cast? Christina Ricci, Paul Rudd, Guillermo Diaz, who's from Half Baked. He's the Spanish dude. Ben Affleck, Kate Hudson, Courtney Love, Martha Plimpton, Casey Affleck, Gabby Hoffman, Angela Featherstone, who I don't know who that is, Janine Garofalo, Dave Chappelle, David Johansen, Buster Poindexter, Elvis Costello, Jay Moore. So it's got like a huge cast.
I'll tell you this, Shawnee, a lot of New Jersey representation in there.
Yeah. Oh, is there Jay Moore and those guys?
Jay Moore, Janine Garofalo, somebody you said in the beginning. I can't remember.
This whole movie, from what I remember, this is why I jotted it down, is just them walking around the city talking. It's all a lot wall-to-wall dialogue in Manhattan. And I don't think they go outside Manhattan, but it's in Manhattan.
Yeah.
And I think it's like all these friends are trying to meet up. I forget. It's kind of a forgettable movie, but it's not bad. I don't remember being like bad. I just remember thinking like, oh my God, there's so much talking in this movie. So much talking. And New York City, if they kind of have a bunch of cool New York City shots.
I'll give you one from Jersey, it stars a couple people from Jersey. I don't know if you've ever seen The Station Agent.
I never have with Peter
Dinklage, who grew up in my hometown of Morristown, New Jersey, is really good in it. He's still pretty young in this. Also has Bobby Cannavale, who's always great. I really always like him in almost everything he does.
Is he from Jersey?
He might be from Jersey, but I'm not sure. And gosh darn it, if I can't remember the third actress's name, but she's good. It's a weird independent movie. It's very New Jersey because of the train stations. The train stations are very identifiable on New Jersey Transit. Yeah. And if you've lived here and you've taken the train to the city your entire life, you go, yeah, they captured that perfectly. But it's a very it's a movie you can tell that they were very proud to be actors in.
I feel that way about Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind because it's one of the only movies to feature the Long Island Railroad. I don't know if they
representation for the LIRR.
What did you say?
You think there would be more representation for the LIRR?
Yeah, I know, right? I know it's such an iconic train line.
Yeah.
So
Patricia Clarkson is who I was trying to think of.
Oh, Patricia Clarkson. Yeah, I know that is.
But good little Jersey movie. It's got some actors from Jersey in it. And it's worth a watch if you are looking for something because it is an interesting story about Peter Dinklage plays a very antisocial guy and Bobby Cannavale plays the exact opposite of that. And so it's kind of a weird friendship. And then they both kind of fall for Patricia Clarkson in their own ways. So it's a unique story and worth checking out.
Cool. Another one I have is I have a very uniquely Brooklyn movie. The main Brooklyn movie that most people know is... I mentioned the director already.
I'm going to say not Crooklyn, but why? You know what I'm thinking. I can't. Do
the right thing.
Do the right thing. Thank you.
Do the Right Thing is probably one of your quintessential Brooklyn movies.
Absolutely. Much more so than the Squid and the Whale bullshit.
Well, yeah, that and also I think...
Francis I don't like that genre.
No, what's it called? The one with Marlon Brando.
I'm not sure. On the waterfront, though, is Jersey.
Is that Jersey? Okay,
yeah.
There you Maybe I was thinking of that on the waterfront. But another really, really great Brooklyn movie is Smoke. Have you ever seen Smoke with Harvey Keitel? It's a Jim Jarmusch movie.
What's the actress in that too?
I forget, but it's Harvey Keitel. I haven't seen it in a long time, but it's Jim Jarmusch, and he owns the cigar store, and it's about all the different people that come in, and he tries to go. Oh, Forrest Whitaker's in it, and Michael from Lost might be in it. He might be the kid in it. Actually, Michael from Lost might be super. I think he's like super young, and he's the kid in it. And then he comes into the store, and I think he gets in trouble at first, and then he stays over his house, and then he goes down to see his father, and it turns out Forrest Whitaker's his father, and he kind of doesn't want to see the kid. There's a lot to it, but it's good. It's really good.
Okay.
But it definitely has I guess maybe it wasn't so much Smoke. Smoke, it has Brooklyn in it. Blue in the Face, which is a movie with the same characters, and the reason they made it is because Jim Jarmusch had so much money left over from Smoke, so they just made. I
feel like Jerry Garcia's in that movie for some reason.
I think he is. He might be.
Yeah.
He might be talking about cigars or something. Who knows? But
I think he's playing the guitar in a scene with Ashley Judd, which is why I'm asking. I know the picture because I'm a Garcia.
That might be, of course, because you're a big Deadhead, but
that's the only reason I know.
That's the only reason you know. Yeah, you might be right. There was a lot of cameos in Blue in the Face. Blue in the Face was more lighthearted. It had to do with the cigar store. It was more vignettes, I think. So yeah, it probably makes sense that they would be playing guitar in Blue in the Face.
All right,
but it's good. It's like has that indie vibe, like you said, to it, where like that 90s indie vibe.
Yeah, that was a great era for indies.
Aesthetically, this is so cool. I know about film because I know about Blue in the Face and Smoke.
Chiaroscuro, bro.
But now it's like, who gives a shit? But
here's one from the great North Woods of Jersey, a classic, 1980s Friday the 13th. Isn't that a great Jersey film?
Friday the 13th is Jersey?
Yeah, they're all Camp Crystal Lake is New Jersey, baby.
See, that's the thing. You have to think of that kind of stuff where it's like you can have like rural movies just technically take place. But that could have been in freaking Wisconsin.
Okay, sure. Yes, but here's the thing is that it's widely known that they were filmed in New Jersey. They have the New Jersey license plates the whole time. And if you grew up in that woodsy part of Jersey, those woods are very identifiable. They look exactly like those Jersey woods. I know those so well. It looked like my backyards growing up. And that added a scarier element to me when I was a kid because it was so close to what I was growing up in. I was like, it's going to happen to me.
That makes sense to me,
Yeah, for sure. But that's a kind of a throwaway one. Jersey people always take pride. They go, yeah, there's Friday the 13th was filmed right over there. 14 kids died. But it's just a fun one. I'll give you another one here too that a lot of people are split on, which is a movie about the Garden State called Garden State. Zach Braff's.
I'd say that's a Jersey movie, yeah, because it's about him going back to Jersey.
Movie. I mean, people are
split on liking it,
whether they liked it or not. I liked it when it came out. I don't know if it's held up as much for me. It's got a great soundtrack. I think it's pretty good in the way they represent teenagers or people in their early 20s killing time and going to house parties in Jersey and doing drugs and drinking and stuff like that. That's very accurate. It's obviously shot on location in a lot of the towns around where I grew up in, so it's very identifiable to me in that regard. So I'll give it a thumbs up over a thumbs down for me.
And also, I think that scenario happens a lot in Jersey. The kid who went out to LA and had, and then comes back, that kind of thing. There's a lot of people. I don't know, a lot of people in my past that I knew, like, not even show business wise. They just went out to LA and then came back. A lot of East Coasters come back to the East Coast, eventually. Look at Seinfeld.
It's because the East Coast is the best coast.
I have one that we've talked about in the podcast before. It's a very New York movie and a very subculture kind of movie. Kids from the 90s.
Great one.
Which was this Larry Clark movie written by Harmony Korine and starring Leo Fitzgerald. That's his name, right? Fitzpatrick, sorry.
From Jersey.
Fitzpatrick and Rosario Dawson, isn't it?
Yep, and a young Chloe.
She's like,
Sevigny.
I think she's probably like 17 in it, but
It might have been her first movie. Chloe Sevigny might have been her first movie.
I think it was Chloe Sevigny's first movie. Yeah.
That's about it for kind of big name stars, but
it was like the most. If you lived at the time that came out, do you remember the controversy that came out amongst this movie?
Yeah,
Like,
I don't think I was allowed to go see it. But it was one of those things where my mom was like, "I don't want you watching that." You're like, "Well, now I'm going to fucking flock to it." You know?
Yeah, and it's nothing. It's. I was like, I think I mentioned before on the podcast, like I was adjacent to that world. Like I had friends of mine who knew people in the movie. And it's pretty realistic. It's almost if you're from the suburbs, it's how you felt about going into the city and hanging out with
100%. It was dangerous and it was kind of exciting and scary, but
that's one of the things we didn't mention. Living in the city takes away that danger to it that you had when you were a kid and you were mad. Like there's a great Jim Brewer bit where he goes, he's not bit, but he does a line in a joke where he's like, "I want to switch to Jamaica." So there's suburban kids, when you're growing up, you could be 20 minutes from Manhattan or the Bronx or Brooklyn, and you still think of the city as the city. And what that's code for is that's where I hate to say it, but it's true. That's where minorities live, and I'm scared of that because I'm a suburban white kid and I'm ignorant and I don't know what you know what I'm saying. Like we had that we had the experience of that at all. So then once you start doing it, you're like, oh, this is cool. Like you think it's
100%.
You don't think you're cool enough to go in and hang in the city, and then when you start doing it, and then when you live there for 15 fucking years, you're like, get me the fuck out of here.
Yeah, it's funny how you start to go, I got to get to the suburbs.
You go reverse.
But kids is great. It's heavy, man, because it deals with kids and AIDS, you know? And
it's a super heavy topic, but it's not. Yeah, you're absolutely right. It has the AIDS thing in there. It was at the peak of that. I think it came out what year?
94, 95, I want to say.
Yeah. And it was peak people being scared of AIDS. So not only they're just creating all this danger within the movie, because there's even like a scene where all the kids beat up the dude with their skateboard in the park. And to be honest, like I've been in situations like that where security guards could chase down, but I've seen kids chase down security guards, and I kind of fight myself with my skateboard and had to like swing it to like survive, that kind of thing. So it was super realistic. It's not the best movie in the world, but it does give you a glimpse. It's almost how I felt about mid-90s, where I was like, oh, it was like a wannabe kids, and it was fun to watch, but it's not a great movie. You know, it's not a great you could make a movie that's set in that world that actually is pretty substantial.
Well, I'll wrap it up with my two that I have left on my list, and I really narrowed this down because there's a bunch of great ones that I left off, and of course, we're both leaving a million out because there's so many made that you just can't cover in one show. But I'll start with this one because I like my final one a little bit more. But actually, a bunch of Todd Solondz movies. Welcome to the Dollhouse is about going to the city. But the one I really the other one was Happiness, which is, I mean, this guy makes speaking of fucked up heavy movies, this guy majored in that. You know? Yeah. I would say nobody has beaten him for the heaviest movies that I've seen. Like the saddest. Yeah.
Oh, just gut-wrenchingly. This guy was so tortured as a kid. I feel every time you see a Todd Solondz movie, you're not sad about the movie. You're sad that he created it. You know what I'm saying? You're sad that.
That's a great way to put it, dude.
Do you know what I mean? You're like, oh man.
Yeah, because you had to draw that from somewhere.
Yeah, you're like, I wish I would have been your friend, man. Like, I'm sorry that you had to go through that. You know. Like, we know people, like, you know, comedy breeds that too. Comics are bred out of fucking torture, and, you know, we know people that we're friends with that's like, I wish I could help you out, man, that kind of thing. But Todd Solondz movies a lot of them are amazing. Welcome to Dollhouse is great. Happiness is the only movie that I love that I'll never watch again. Yeah,
I know so many people like that. It's great, but you just go, I don't need that in my psyche anymore.
The topics are so heavy. It's not a rewatch kind of situation. You get through it and you go, that was fantastic, but I never want to see that again because I don't want to deal with it. I don't want to deal with the feelings or the topics because, oh, man.
Yeah.
And also, speaking of comedy, it kind of deals with you
could find some dark humor in some of them, but it's very dark.
It's super dark, and there's actually humor in it, but it's dark humor. Yeah. And what's
I remember
Oh.
right when I moved to New York, I saw Dylan Baker, one of the great character actor over the years.
But he plays a pedophile in Happiness.
Yeah, he plays a pedophile in Happiness, and it was like 1 or 2 years after I saw, and I was just walking in Union Square and I saw him, and it was like Happiness was still fresh. I went, "You son of a bitch!"
See, that's what's hard about playing those roles like that. It's gotta be
He's
so
a
hard.
great character actor.
He's an amazing character actor. He's fantastic.
You know what I was thinking of, kind of as a kind of auxiliary to, I would say maybe a New York Todd Solondz type, is very Darren Aronofsky. Requiem for a Dream takes place like that Coney Island, Brooklyn, and like.
But I still don't think of him as a New York filmmaker. I think of other directors as Scorsese.
No, maybe not necessarily a New York filmmaker, but
Spike
he
Lee
does use it, like in Black Swan, he'll use Lincoln Center as a backdrop.
Yeah, I think the topics of his movies and the fucked upness outshines the setting.
Yeah, exactly.
The fucked upness.
So, and then the last one is a Darren Aronofsky film, is The Wrestler, very New Jersey.
Oh, super New Jersey. Super great movie. I haven't watched it since it came out, but I feel like it would hold up.
Holds up. It's fantastic.
You watched it?
I've seen it a few times afterwards, and it is powerful and great, and they get that very New Jersey kind of southern feel to it. Asbury Park, kind of the Pinelands, and
talk about utilizing present day Mickey Rourke.
Yeah, and that was his I don't know if it was a complete comeback, but he did. It was, and I think he screwed it up again. Yeah, he wasn't doing much before that, and then that was a comeback for Mickey Rourke. I think now it's kind of done. Like, I think he does whatever it is, but it was the perfect role for him to play. After all, it was almost like sometimes you have these movies where the actor's personal life matches what's going on in the movie, almost. Right.
And that's you feel like, oh, he probably could really dig down deep for this role, because there's a lot of, he seems like on his face there's a lot of pain going on in his life.
It's the Botox.
Well, let's wrap this up, my friend. I'm sorry I had interruptions. We're probably going to edit it, but I apologize for that. Yeah. And do you want to plug anything, my friend?
Nothing really to plug, unfortunately. Stand up is still at a halt, but hopefully that's coming back soon, as we talked about. And if you want to see us out there on the road, contact your local clubs and see what their status is.
Yeah, can you call the clubs and say that you want to bring me and Andy to do a back-to-back stand-up show?
Tell you want Cool Breeze and the Dutch to come to your. You can listen to my Sirius XM show. They're doing a free streaming trial for 3 months. So please, if you like what you hear here, we both have our own individual shows. Mine is the Raw Report. It is every Thursday at 4 p.m. on Sirius XM 99. That's the Raw Dog channel. And we interview, comics and celebrities and actors and all that good stuff. And it's a fun hang. So please check that out. And you can find them all on demand as well.
And mine is Celebrate. That's on Raw Dog 99 every Wednesday at 4 p.m. And I'm at Shawnee Time on Instagram and Twitter. And like I said, make sure you guys subscribe, rate, and review to the podcast. We really, really appreciate it, and it really helps the show. Thank you guys so much. Thank you, Andrew Fiore.
You are very welcome, sir.
And we will see you next week.
Bye-bye.